I'm vivacious, eccentric, and I'm a Scorpio.
Celebs showing off their lavish lifestyles may feel cringy for some, but for some stars, it's a reminder of how far they've come. Not all of your faves grew up with silver and have worked hard from day one to afford financial stability. And if you like live events, check out SeatGeek.com and use the promo code TTC for $20 off your first order.
My mother had to rent out her house, and we all four had to move in the basement, which was a studio apartment.
Number 1. Nicki Minaj's tumultuous past. Before the fame and fortune, Nicki was Trinidadian-born Onika Mirage. Growing up in Queens, New York, Nicki says her poor childhood motivated her to become successful. She told Rolling Stone, "When I first came to America, I would go in my room and kneel down at the foot of my bed and pray that God would make me rich so that I could take care of my mother." Because she believed money would help her mother get away from her abusive father, who used to sell their belongings for drugs and once set their house on fire. Nicki achieved her dreams as not only a successful queen of rap, but as the highest paid female rapper with an estimated net worth of $85 million. Number 2. Cardi from the Bronx. Cardi B has been vocal about her past and the adversities she faced growing up as Belcalis Almanzar in the Bronx, and is now just as vocal about her journey and success. She's described her parents as good people with poor jobs and getting kicked out of her mother's house at 18. Now, Cardi B is worth approximately $40 million, a 9-time Grammy Award winner, and 4 homes in her real estate portfolio. But all she wants to do is spoil her family, saying, "Listen, I'ma live my childhood dreams through my kids." She's come a long way. Number 3. Always Robyn Fenty. One thing Rihanna always maintains is she's still Robyn that was raised in Barbados, even after she moved to the US at 16 to pursue her musical career. Now, almost 2 decades later, she's a billionaire with an estimated net worth of $1.7 billion, which makes her the wealthiest female musical artist in the world. But she doesn't forget her humble root. In her 2015 Oprah Next Chapter special, Rihanna toured the home she grew up in, only to end it by gifting her mom a whole mansion in Barbados. But it's clear that no matter how she succeeds, she will always love Barbados, and Barbados will always love its national hero. Number 4. From Shawn to Jay-Z. Shawn Carter grew up in the Mercy Projects in Brooklyn, New York, and at 11, his dad left home. And when Shawn felt the need to step up to help support his family, he turned to selling the same drug that traumatized many lives in the 80s, including his older brother and his father, who battled similar addictions. After 14 years of dealing, he stepped away for good and went on to become one of the wealthiest people in the world, with an estimated net worth of $1.4 billion. And the biggest chunk wasn't his $75 million music catalog. It's his $410 million stake in Armand de Brignac Champagne and Deuce Cognac. Number 5. Selena Gomez has always been charitable. Even though Selena remembers times being hard financially, growing up with her teen single mom, like the times they couldn't afford gas and had to search for quarters in the seats of the car, she was always raised to give back. It started with soup kitchens on Thanksgiving, donating her clothes, and in 2009, she was named the youngest Goodwill ambassador for UNICEF. Now with a net worth of $80 million and a platform of 300 million followers, she's still finding ways to give back. Through documentaries fighting immigration injustice to her most recent Rare Impact Fund that takes 1% of her brand Rare Beauty sales to increase mental health services in educational settings. Number 6. The success of Justin Bieber. Before he was serenading us with his sweet melodies, Justin Bieber was the son to teen parents Patty Millette and Jeremy Bieber. Justin grew up mostly with his single mom, who often struggled to make ends meet and often had days not knowing where their next meal would come from.
You know, I have no food. I have no idea how I'm gonna feed Justin.
Now, Justin's decade-long music career, endorsements, and investments have amassed him a wealth of $285 million, which he spends on his family, his homes renting, and buying his cars. He's been working hard for a long time and is still going as he's scheduled to be on tour until March 2023. He just keeps adding to that net worth. Number 7. Jenny still loves her block. From the moment she got her break in the industry as a fly girl on In Living Color, Jennifer Lopez hasn't stopped working hard, and she's not done yet. Growing up in the Bronx, J-Lo's mom sold Tupperware and worked in a school, while her dad worked nights to make ends meet. When the performer wanted to pursue showbiz at 18, her mom didn't approve, so J-Lo moved out and was homeless for a few months, sleeping on a sofa in a dance studio, before her break a few months later. But despite her success as an entertainer now worth $400 million, Lopez still credits her childhood in the Bronx for having the strength to become J-Lo while still being Jenny. Number 8. From Baltimore to Hollywood. Before she was bringing it to the table, the red table, Jada Pinkett Smith, born Jada Corin Pinkett, grew up in a poverty-stricken neighborhood of Park Heights in Baltimore. She remembers it as a neighborhood full of desperate, uneducated people who were brought down and oppressed by their lack of opportunity, and says she wonders how she made it out. Based on her description of her childhood neighborhood, the daughter of a teenage single mother should not have been able to make it through high school, let alone be worth $50 million. And she openly discusses the trauma she endured and overcame in spite of her rough childhood. Number 9. Viola Davis never gave up. In her recent memoir, Finding Me, Viola Davis discusses the shame she used to feel about the poverty she grew up in as the second youngest of 6 in Central Falls, Rhode Island.
There was one apartment that we lived in that was just infested with rats. They were under our beds and just never having any food.
But she decided she wasn't going to let that define her life and believed she could achieve more. Today, she's proof that mindset is half the battle and no longer feels shame for growing up in abject poverty, in rat-infested apartments, or stealing money for food, but instead provides her a unique perspective now that she's financially stable. The Oscar winner is now worth an estimated $25 million, showing that believing in your dreams no matter what is important. Number 10. SJP before Carrie Bradshaw. She may be Carrie terrible with her finances, dripping in labels Bradshaw to an entire generation, but that wasn't how Sarah Jessica Parker grew up. In fact, before she got her first break on Broadway, SJP, one of 8 children, grew up on welfare in Ohio. She recalls not celebrating Christmas or birthdays and not having electricity sometimes. Today, she's made history as the highest per-episode salary of $3.8 million for Sex and the City, of which she was also an executive producer, earning over $200 million from the entire series. Number 11. No more 9-to-5s for Dolly Parton. Dolly Parton grew up sharing a bed with 2 or 3 of her 11 siblings, which she said sometimes meant she had to deal with some siblings wetting the bed where she slept. But despite her humble beginnings in rural Tennessee, Parton knew she wanted to be a star from a young age. She wrote her first song at 5, performed professionally for the first time at 13. Today, Parton never has to worry about needing a 9-to-5. She's worked hard making her living and is now worth an estimated $350 million. Number 12. P. Diddy's hard work and daydreams paid off. Shawn Combs, aka Puff Daddy, P. Diddy, or Brother Love, depending on your age, grew up with the hard work pays off mentality. He grew up watching his mom hold 5 jobs to pay the bills. At 12, he had his first taste of the hustle with a paper route and earning his first $1,000 in 1 week. Before getting into the music scene and making it big, both behind the scenes and as the artist, Diddy worked as a busboy, cleaning bathrooms, pumping gas, and now he's worth just $900 million, with a growing empire in the entertainment industry and his various investments. Number 13. Jim Carrey's $1 Million Dream. Jim Carrey's comedy has created a lifetime of memories for many generations, but his decision to do comedy wasn't just because he's a funny guy who has an equally theatrical face. When Carrey was 12, his father lost his job as an accountant, and soon they endured financial struggles for most of Carrey's childhood. That lesson taught Carrey that it was important to go after your dreams, no matter how crazy they seem, because either way, you can fail doing what you love and what you hate. In fact, he believed in his dreams so much at one of his lowest points in his career, he famously wrote a check to himself of $10 million to cash in 10 years.
I wrote myself a check for $10 million for acting services rendered.
10 years later, he made $10 million for his movie Dumb and Dumber. Today, Carrey is worth around $180 million. Number 14. Céline Dion's humble roots. Céline Dion was raised the youngest of 14 children in a small house in Quebec. But she never considered her family poor because they weren't lacking in love, affection, or support, just lacking in finances. When she was a baby, her first bed was a cabinet drawer because of the lack of space in her childhood home. Now she's worth $700 million and lives in mansions with more than enough space for her and her show collection. Céline began her musical career at 5, and 5 decades later, her musical heart is still going on. Number 15. Believing in Oprah. It's easy to forget Oprah hasn't always been the billionaire mogul and public figure we know of today. From a very young age, she was taught to have limited dreams, that she would grow up to be a maid for a nice family like her grandmother. And with the abuse she was subjected to from a very young age that led to her mother abandoning Oprah at her grandmother's, Oprah refused to agree that she was just supposed to continue in the cycle of poverty. Despite all the adversity of growing up forced to sleep outside, Oprah is now worth $3.5 billion and has accomplished in furthering the education of thousands of children, especially girls, over the years. Whose rag to riches story do you find the most inspiring? Let us know in the comments below, and be sure to like, share, and subscribe to The Thing Celebrity for more on your favorite celebs.